Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ep.4 of Uniquely Unqualified Podcast. My name is Chris, and we've got a few topics to go over today. I'm going to go through what it looks like here in Mexico as we sit here on Wednesday, February 25th, 2026, after last Sunday's capture, kill mission of Jalisco New Generation's leader, El Mencho. And I want to bring up something in California with the school district. We'll hit on 3 political topics, and then I got a cool little video on X that I ran across that I couldn't agree with more. So before we get going on any of that, please remember to like and subscribe to my little channel. It means the world to me. It doesn't take a whole lot for you. Even if you don't like to watch the content, don't watch the content. It'll drop to the bottom of your algorithm, but I still get that subscription. So I appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Thank you. So first things first, Mexico post slaying of Nemesio Oseguero Cervantes. Largely everything's calm. I really wanted to drive home on Monday that the entire country is not burning. There's a few hot spots, just like there is in America when we have riots. We have riots in Minnesota, we have riots in Seattle, we have riots in Portland, in Los Angeles. We have them, different parts back east. It's just kind of what happens. But we in America don't sit there and think to ourselves, I live in Maine, and my son or daughter or grandchildren live in Tennessee, and Minneapolis is burning, so oh my goodness, let's everybody get out of America and get out of Tennessee because Minneapolis is burning. That's absolutely ridiculous. And so it's the same thing that I've been seeing a lot on news and social media here, at least where I'm sitting right now, is yes, there were some issues. They certainly didn't last for weeks and weeks like the Minneapolis stuff did. Or the unrest after Rodney King in the early 90s in Los Angeles, or the Watts riots, etc. So largely we're calmed down here. And again, here in the Bay where I live, we were very much unaffected. No government advisory to anything. People just chose to close stores if they chose to close them. We have a string of convenience stores here called OXXO. They had a corporate mandate to close all the OXXOs down in the country, so those were closed. But all of our little local tiendas, water kept being delivered, everything was fine here. Everything. So again, please, keep in mind Mexico's economy. I think it's somewhere around 13th largest economy in the world. They've been saying that it's a third world country. I find that to be mildly offensive, because I've been to some very, very poor rural areas in this country, but I have been to some magnificent cities and municipalities in this country, and we live in a very, very beautiful town here. So we don't have to deal very much with unrest. And I think I've made it pretty clear in Monday's episode about the controlling faction in this area being Jalisco New Generation. They do a good job of keeping everything quiet. So I would like to challenge, actually, sorry, I'm itching my eyes, obviously, but I would like to challenge, the people burning cars and gas stations and such. I'd like to challenge that statement of, oh, the cartels are burning no, the cartels were gearing up and getting suited up and getting ready to go after military bases and political leaders. That's what the cartels were doing. I think just rambunctious little sympathizers were burning stuff down. Cartels don't really act like that. Low-level crime syndicates do, but not Jalisco New Generation. We really need to look at this organization with a lot more respect, because whether you like them or not, they deserve it. They have built it. They're very, very dangerous. We are all seeing videos online with Jalisco teams kitted up, ready to go. So anyway, just to reiterate, every country has problems. If something happens in Jalisco, which is many states away from us, we have 31 states, 32 if you account for the federal district, which is Mexico City proper in the Zócalo. That's where the cathedral is, that's where Temple Mayor is, that's where the Capitol building is, that's where Tower Latino America is, that's where the promenade is. That would be the federal district, Mexico City. So, you know, it's not just Jalisco, Sinaloa, Sonora. There's a lot going on here in this country, and it saddens me that Americans are not educated to that. It saddens me that Americans actually think that we are just some narco state down here. Might be a shadow narco state, but we're not, you know, forefront ruining the lives of millions of civilians and citizens here in Mexico. We are a functioning country down here, and state by state it's different. So anyway, something happens in Jalisco, something happens in Sinaloa, something happens in Nayarit. You know, we're pretty calm. I think the closest thing that really happened was in Oaxaca, and Oaxaca is the state that borders our southeastern border here in Guerrero. Anyway, so leading that, going from there, I saw a post on X, what looked to be a wealthy person. I don't recall if it said where he lived, but I do believe it said that he lived in Mexico, but a wealthy person saying that he was being extracted from Mexico because of all the violence. You will also see the next video down on the feed where tourists or, you know, whoever else is sitting there saying everything's fine. Well, because by and large, everything is fine. By and large, everything is fine. There was a flare-up. There's going to be some retaliation from the cartels politically. You know, there's going to be a bit of a power struggle. And we'll get into why you can't be fucking doing the stuff that we're doing with the cartels, the way that we're doing it, the way that the U.S. government is putting pressure on the Mexican government. This is going to, I'll get to it. Anyway, by and large, everything's fine here. Everything is fine here. There's videos just running rampant all over social media, and that is doing an unbelievable disservice. It's going to cost the Mexican government billions of dollars of travel and tourism money. Billions. And if you just report the truth, what's actually going on, you know, it's just because America says it's a level 2 travel advisory. That's it. It's kind of the same reason why 2 + 2 = 4, because we fucking say so. It's, you know, and side note, we've been stuck in physics since, you know, Einstein, and I'm not saying 2 + 2 doesn't = 4. I'm just saying that we observe our universe mathematically, socially, etc., because of the way that we say we do. And so I would really like for all of the crazy rhetoric to calm down, and all these ridiculous videos saying that, oh my God, tourists are getting kidnapped and stuff and blah blah blah. I'll look into it and maybe come to you on Friday with a list to see how many American tourists have either American or Canadian or British tourists have either been abducted or killed since this whole thing happened. I would suspect the number is 0 because nobody's heard anything about it on MSNBC or Fox or CNN or even Twitter. So, X, sorry. So now, having said all of that, largely everything is fine. There are some areas that do have elevated cartel activity. Absolutely, because there's going to be a retaliation to this action. They're not going to go and just burn whole cities down necessarily, and it wasn't like the entire city of Guadalajara or Puerto Vallarta was burnt down, and the government is in a reclamation cleanup effort to clear all the roads, etc. But the places where you're going to see cartel activity are smaller towns, off the main highways. You know, we have a very expansive toll road freeway system here in this country, from border to border, from America to Central America, and it's quite safe actually. There's highways that are just admittedly flat out extortion, because they'll eat your car just by driving down them, but you still pay a fee to drive down it. It's supposed to take care of it and doesn't take care of it, and it's just it's got sinkholes and potholes, and they're, you know, 2 lanes and giant semi trucks spitting black shit everywhere trying to pass you. It can be rough, but we have a big expansive road system here. So you're not going to see any of this stuff on like all of the toll roads or freeway systems will be, you know, 37D as in Delta, 15D as in Delta. The D designation will be for toll roads. You could travel these toll roads at night, you know, but like in a town where Mencho was found, like Tapalpa, that's south of Guadalajara, beautiful, safe area, but it was beautiful and safe because of the control that the cartel had there. And so you're gonna see activity in places like that. You might see activity in places like you know, outside of Hermosillo. You might see activity in, you know, places, you know, more like closer to Tecpan, someplace where there might be an important federal government worker, families that dined people out. You're going to see activity like that. But again, by and large, the main areas here in Mexico are very calm. We're good to go here. We were out playing pool yesterday. Every Tuesday we play a few games of 8-ball with a small group of friends. Everybody was back up and at it yesterday. Side note, I met up with one of my buddies who's been working very hard because he's a brand new father. He's a father as of 3 weeks ago tomorrow, and so we got to meet his baby daughter yesterday after pool. And I do not hold infants, but I held her, and it was quite lovely. So back to normal. I hung out with my jiu-jitsu coach last night for dinner. You know, we're going, school's back open tonight, and you know, back to regularly scheduled programming. Anyway, one thing that we've been really seeing on social media and everything and Fox News and legacy outlets, etc., is how dangerous it is for the Americans and Canadians to be here and yada, 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 shelter in place, oh my God. Well, I mentioned in a couple episodes ago, I understand we're only on episode 4 here, but I mentioned a couple episodes ago that the reason why you don't go into your neighbor and just start fucking them up is because you have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of US citizens that live here. And so by doing this action, governments, the US government, pressure from the US government to the Mexican government, that is what is putting American lives at harm and in jeopardy. It's not the day in and day out of the narco traffic around here. It's just not. You're a gringo, you're driving down the freaking street, a highway, a road you're not supposed to be going down. It's happened to me. It's happened to many people. It's happened to my friends. These folks will set up a blockade. They'll block a town off. They'll find you, a gringo, waiting to go through, and they'll just tell you to turn around. Go back to where you came from, find a different route. They don't jack you. It's just, in the past, I'm sure that things like this have happened, but it's just not the case anymore. And so when you see these one-off things of some small faction up north outside of Mexicali or Juarez or Matamoros harassing people at an intersection, they're not going after the Americans. So to have them just moving in and out and around, and like I said in another episode, if you don't do drugs, you're not going to do drugs. It doesn't matter if there's drugs in front of you, drugs to the left, drugs to the right. It doesn't matter. If you don't do drugs, you don't do drugs. And if there's drugs being moved around, it doesn't affect you because you don't do it, because you're not in that community. So the pressure from the Trump administration onto the Sheinbaum Pardo presidency down here in Mexico is the direct reason why anybody would have needed to shelter in place, because there would have been no reaction. There would be no thing burning on a Sunday or a Monday if you just would have let sleeping dogs lie. The reason why I say these things this way is because it is impossible to stop organized crime. If it's not the Italian mob, it's the Irish mob. If it's not the Irish mob, there's something called the fucking Mormon Mafia. The fucking Mormons have their own mob of criminal underworld. And so if it's not them, or some hillbillies in Appalachia, or the Mexican cartels, or Peruvian cocaine growers, or Colombian cocaine producers, it's just gonna be another one. And in my humble opinion, I think that you should seek legitimization. Because if the cartels already have control over all the politicians and everything, then who the fuck's in charge? Well, the cartels are, not the politicians. And trying to root out the bought and paid for politicians is just as pointless as trying to get the rest of the Epstein files released so that we could see some prosecutions in our own goddamn political and business criminals in the United States. So if none of this would have happened, cities would not have burnt, Americans wouldn't be, wondering, oh my God, is your family safe? Are you safe? Blah, 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 blah. So this is precisely the reason why I had mentioned, maybe in the second episode, potentially Mondays, I don't remember, but this whole social media view, all of it, that's the reason why you don't jump in and just try to cut the head off of, it's not cutting the head off a snake, it's cutting the head off of a hydra. 2 more heads are gonna pop up. And guess what? They already have. There's that guy I mentioned, El Yogurt. Fucking El Yogurt. And then there's another dude, Nemesio Cervantes' stepson. So now we're already starting to see division in that. And what's going to happen is they'll either, everybody else will get back in line and business as usual, the supreme leader is dead and we're just going to carry on, you're in charge, you know best, yada, yada, yada. Or it's going to splinter and it's going to fracture, and then you're going to have another well-funded, well-armed cartel separate from Jalisco, separate from Gulf. And then they're going to create their own violence in their own areas. So this whole move, stop with the war on drugs. You're not stopping it. You can't. It's impossible. People get high. People get drunk. It's what the fuck happens. If you don't, you don't. Good for you. Godspeed. But if you are somebody that likes to get your buzz on, I like to smoke weed. I like to drink liquor. I don't do coke. I don't do heroin. I don't do meth. I don't do pills. I don't do, I like fucking mushrooms, weed, and booze. That's my vice. That's what I like to do. So people shuffling bags of cocaine on the sidewalk without me knowing as I'm walking down or going for my runs during the week is absolutely inconsequential to anything I or anyone else on that sidewalk is doing. This war on drugs thing is just it's a big fucking racket, and it's causing more problems than it's solving. And so I must say that I'm not sympathetic towards the cartels. I'm not. I have friends that are involved in that underworld, but I'm not sympathetic towards them. I'm just more realistic. Instead of trying to hunt the guy that owns the president of the United States of Mexico, by the way, it is the United States of Mexico, instead of going after that guy who owns the president, owns the president. So who's really in charge? Well, let's talk to him. I'm not saying you need to legitimize them as a protected group. I'm just saying these are the dudes you got to deal with. If you don't want crazy pesticides and fentanyl laced all this bullshit, same thing in America. Legalize and regulate. Legalize and regulate. We have some legalization here in the country of Mexico when it comes to amounts of marijuana and cocaine, but nowhere near what I'm talking about. So anyway, that would be the big reason this whole since Sunday would be the primary reason why at this point you can't stop this machine. You're just going to cause problems, and America does not have a good track record with taking out the leader of something and replacing it with anything better. So anyway, all that to say, we're okay here. We're fine. Everything's groovy. So to answer the question on X I saw earlier today about this guy that was saying he's being extracted from it, well, good for you, you freaking tool. Or you can just drive home or get on a, airplane at a different neighboring airport that isn't shut down. Because, we got those here too. We got a bunch of airports. There isn't one airport in Mexico City, there's 3. There isn't one airport in Los Angeles. There's LAX, there's Burbank, there's Van Nuys, there's a freaking dozen of them. So, we have to, as Americans, we must start looking at our neighbor as an equal, not as some, just because we sit physically north above their border, that does not mean that we are above them. They have infrastructure. We can drink, we have clean drinking water. I can take you to spots in the mountains where there are natural artesians that you can drink the water right out of the mountain. We got that here too. The way that they deliver city water, you just don't want to drink the city water. Here in Zihuatanejo, I know a ton of people that drink the city water. They cook with it, they make their coffee with it, they do all sorts of, none of them are sick. In different towns, it's not the same. We got the friggin' Culligan man that comes around. You know, it's like we're not without here. We are not without here. And it's not me just being a retired white guy spending my dollar in Mexico saying that. I can look out a window here to my right and I can see other houses where they have electricity, running water, power, indoor bathrooms, etc. Television, satellite TV. So if I keep going too much further on this, I'm just gonna blow my O-ring. So we're all good here. Stop looking at Mexico as this absolutely defunct, collapsed narco state. It's not true. We had a military action against a head boss, and there was a retaliation. There's going to be a retaliation event, but as far as stuff going on, it's largely relaxed. We're fine. We're fine. None of my expat friends, be them Americans, Canadians, Australians, British, or Hungarian, none of them feel as though they are in danger, unsafe, or feel as though they need to flee. None of them feel that way. And I think that the big issue for some of these clowns and cowards that come here and think like, oh, I'm just gonna be king shit white guy and bring my vehicles and live in a really super duper house in Monterey. Okay, good for you. But understand that it's not America. We've got our own shit going on here. So if you feel the need to flee, get the fuck out, don't come back. That's my advice to you. We're good here. Anyway, moving on. So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this one, but a California school superintendent was raided by the FBI today, or not, was it today or the other day? And about fraudulent stuff with the school district that he was raided under. You're not seeing a lot of claims of fraud in Idaho and Ohio and Texas or Florida, North Carolina. You're not seeing a lot. Tennessee, but you're seeing a lot in New York, California, Minnesota, Massachusetts. And what is the one thing that all those places California have in common? They are ran by big D Democrats. You can't deny that. That's a universal truth. You look at Idaho, Republican. Texas, Republican. Florida, Republican. There's a reason why people are moving to Tennessee, Republican. Ohio, Republican. Like these places, we conservatives don't do this bullshit. But for some reason, these big D Democrats, they get to some position of power and they feel like they're entitled to their pound of flesh and $1 million, and come, by hook or by crook, they're gonna get it. And I'm curious to see what this is gonna unfold in the state of California and the school district that this individual is superintendent under. So anyway, like I said, not a lot on that one. Maybe if I see more about it as California fraud starts coming more to light, maybe we'll get into that, I guess. But speaking of California, Gavin Newsom is a racist piece of shit. Gavin Newsom goes to Georgia and sits in front of a political leader in Georgia and proclaims to the black political leader of Georgia that he's just like them, a sub 1,000 SAT score, and he can't read. Because black people can't read, and they can't get IDs, and they can't drive. They don't know how to do their laundry or get a job. It's so unbelievable. It's so fucking unbelievable that this guy, Gavin Newsom, is such, I don't even know if there's a word bad enough to describe this guy. But he actually has the balls to go and sit in front of a black constituency, in front of a black political leader of their state, and claim that he is a dumb knuckle dragger just like them. Because that's what he did. That's what Gavin Newsom did. And he sat there with his queer little legs crossed and tried to pander to these people. I find it fucking disgusting. I find it disgusting. By the way, Gavin Newsom can fucking read. I don't care if he doesn't read speeches off of a piece of paper. He should, so that he keeps his damn foot out of his mouth. He was sitting on his podcast with some chubby dude and some lady. Talking about this wonderful 250 plus page book that, remember in the first episode, I'm sorry for the video quality in the first two episodes, but remember in the first episode where I said how he does these things and he raises this up and he puts this down and we got to do this, and stop voting for people that move their hands around a lot. Stop paying attention to people that do these little spells on you with their fucking fingers. Stop voting for people like that. So he's sitting there on his This is Gavin Newsom, or whatever the hell his podcast is called. And he says, oh, it has, this, and it's 250 pages of shit you can't read. This guy is a fucking clown. Gavin Newsom can read. Maybe he's dyslexic. I don't care. Nobody should care. It doesn't matter. There's many intelligent people that are dyslexic. There's many intelligent people that can read that are dyslexic. This book that he is claiming of 250 pages has a 10-hour audiobook, and he says that he can't read, and he claims that it took him mere hours to read the 250. But I just sat down and I just cracked a short 250 page read, had 3 or 4 hours to kill, so I'm gonna sit here and read. Fuck you, dude. You ruined my fucking state, and now you're going all around the country spilling your bullshit, and the worst part about it is people are gonna get behind you and support you for something. Fucking greaseball. If you can't tell, I don't have much nice things to say about Gavin Newsom. Next, kind of in the same realm of rants, I believe is Senator Mark Wayne Mullin pops off on Bernie Sanders about healthcare. A lot of people claim that Bernie Sanders is a stand-up guy. He's been beating the same drum his whole political career. And that's actually a problem, because he's never solved a problem. He's just beating the same drum. He keeps getting elected on shit he doesn't fix. And in the Senate, not too awfully long ago, Mark Wayne Mullin called Bernie Sanders out and said that he's been campaigning and barking and bitching about healthcare since before Mark Wayne Mullin was alive. And I think that's true. What are you doing about it, Bernie? Anything? Nothing? Just talking about it? And like a good dog, you're told to sit down and shut up, and you do. And you get your little pat on the head from the Big D Democratic Party. And nothing with healthcare or the economy gets fixed because you're a shill and you're full of shit. Full of shit. You know, Rep Luna came out on the Rogan podcast and basically said things like healthcare, gay marriage, LGBTQ rights, abortion, blah, 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 blah. All of those things are tools. They aren't actual things to fix. And we know that, right? Because really, you gotta be one ignorant fool to care if two men want to marry each other or two women want to marry each other. That's none of your business, and it's completely inconsequential to anything you're doing. It doesn't matter. You know, we could get into should they be able to have kids and all that sort of stuff. You know, you want to raise kids, raise kids. I raised kids. I'd raise another one. Just because I'm a heterosexual that's been married to a woman for almost 15 years, you know, doesn't mean I wouldn't fuck it up. You know, you got plenty of high-profile homosexuals that have children. They seem to be doing just fine. So, abortion. We need it. Culturally, societally, we need it. It's not to say that it's not to say that we should use it as birth control, but if there is incest, rape, 14 years old, 14-year-old girl gets pregnant, 15-year-old girl gets pregnant, that is no world to bring a child into unless grandma and grandpa are going to take care of it, and in which case you're going to fuck that young lady's world up for life. I know women that were very young parents and their families, for whatever reason, let the child come to term, be born, and immediately ripped out from that young mother's arms when her natural impulse is to do something, take care of a baby. That's her natural impulse. Well, now you fucked that up for her. Now that's her identity forever now. Now she thinks that you know, she's a hypochondriac and she's just a fucking mess, man. Like, you can't just have babies be born. Oh, the baby. Well, what about that woman who made a mistake, had unprotected sex, got pregnant, and has an abortion? There's no real connection there for her because a life hasn't grown inside of her yet. Hormones haven't changed enough yet. So that by the time she's 20, 25 and has a child, she's not an emotional psycho because she was forced to carry to term and then they ripped the baby out of her hands and adopt it out somewhere. Now she's a basket case. And that happens a lot more. And so we need abortion, gay rights. Everybody's always had rights. Gay marriage rights, abortion, these are dead subjects to most intelligent people, but they are used politically to gain favor and votes. Oh, we're gonna do something about this. We're gonna do something about healthcare. If you would have not sent over $100 billion in cash and military assets to the Ukraine under the Biden administration, you would have been able to fund free, top-notch healthcare for every American in the country. So don't beat your frickin' drum, Sanders, about health care. And Senator Mark Wayne Mullin made that point, and I agree with him. Not just because his ears look cool, but because he's right. And I'm, as most everybody is in the United States, I'm sick of this political crap. And I mean, it's just, you know, the cat's out of the bag. It's a scam. These people are just enriching themselves. There's a few good eggs, but the rest of them are just rotten. And I don't care if Bernie Sanders has stuck to the same talking points his whole career. He's never done anything. He's never fixed anything. He's never done anything. Nothing. He just uses it to campaign for. Uses it to campaign for. It's never going to get fixed as long as people like that are in office. And I really enjoyed that Senator Mark Wayne Mullin called him out. That was pretty cool. Don't know exactly when that happened. It's kind of hard. I mean, hell, this could have happened a year ago, and it just popped up on my feed today. I was watching some other video of something, some old. Actually, it was. I saw this thing on the Sky News show where they showed some liberal homeless activist in Portland goes up and starts, you know, basically petting a sleeping homeless lady on the sidewalk, disturbing a sleeping homeless lady's sleep. And the sleeping homeless lady, rightfully so, I thought it was hilarious, just immediately wakes up and starts aggressively petting the liberal activist person, saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And they say, "Oh, we thought we were overdosing. We thought we were." You know, that's a problem with these fucking liberal activists, is they just assume. They just assume that they're right. It's disgusting. Mind your own damn business. If there's homeless people sleeping on the street, overdosing, you know, as morbid as this, that's a fucking fine, good. You know, you're not gonna fix them anyway. You're just not. That's the other thing. Homeless. Oh, the homeless crisis. This, that, it's gonna be a crisis. You know, there's young men and women from affluent families that are choosing to be homeless because they think it's some kind of a virtue. Those people are retarded. And so to sit there and vote for somebody that says, we're going to fix healthcare, we're going to fix homelessness, we're going to give LGBTQIA++ people rights. You already have rights. What the fuck are you, why? Because you're not allowed to use the girls' bathroom if you have a penis? No, you're not allowed to do that. You want to be a freaking, you know, girl, but you have a penis? You know, I mean, there's companies, if you want to ask for anything, you know, there's companies and stores and et cetera, there's a family restroom. It's got one toilet, a changing table, a urinal, and it's meant for one person, or a mom and a baby, or a father and his children, so that they're not sitting out in the store. Then you can, you know, use that. But if you got a willy, then you got to use the men's room. How about this? If you got a willy and you're really pulling it off, and you go into pulling off the girl look, and you go into the women's restroom, and you go into a stall, and you sit down to pee like an actual girl, and you don't start masturbating, and you pee, and you get up, and you walk out, and no one's the fucking wiser, then no one's the wiser. What rights are you guys looking for? The right to be heard. Oh, everybody's hearing you. Yeah, we're down there. What else? Oh, you want to invade and molest female sports? Nobody gets the right to literally fuck with somebody's program. You don't get the right to fuck with somebody's program. It's kind of like this crap that I heard floated up somewhere in New York, where they say, you know, oh, we need to do something about these pet dogs because there's Muslims here and they don't like pet dogs. I mean, what? I mean, like, are you really that nuts? You're gonna tell American citizens in American city that they can't have a dog because there's a Muslim person that doesn't approve of a pet dog? To quote a line in the movie Step Brothers, what in the fucking fuck? And some delusional cunt really does think that that would be okay. Unbelievable. So, yeah, Rep Luna says that none of these things are going to be fixed. Homelessness, health care, abortion, they're just, as Rogan says, political beach balls. Just toss it up in there. Oh, keep everybody's head off of the prize. Keep that ball bouncing, baby, so we can get away with a whole bunch of bad shit. Like Gaza and the Ukraine crap. Or Minnesota. Or Portland or Seattle. Or San Francisco. You know, I went to San Francisco one time when I was young, and that was a hell of an experience. And like those poop trackers, it's real stuff, man. That's real. So, good to Mark Wayne Mullin for calling Bernie Sanders out on his bullshit. I'm not saying Mark Wayne Mullin's one of the good ones, but thanks for calling Bernie Sanders out on his bullshit, because he ain't gonna do anything about the healthcare thing as long as a relic like Bernie Sanders is in there. Anyway, moving on. State of the Union address. Didn't watch it. Did see some highlights. They said that J.D. Vance was going to be the head of the war on fraud, which, you know, cool. I wish that whole Doge thing would have went better. I think it largely performed the purpose that it needed to perform, to just kind of identify what to go after. You know, Elon Musk and Doge was never going to have actual approval to cut funding anywhere. But the whole fraud thing in the American government against the taxpayer, that's a real thing. It's a real problem. And there are some real people holding office with serious influence that are directly responsible for these problems. You know, I detest politicians like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but one I think is even worse than her is that Ilhan Omar lady. That is a wretched human being. You know, they say Somalians actually have the lowest IQ of any group of people around the world. So what that means is Somalia just has no way to educate anybody. You know, I've been to some places in the Middle East that if you want to know how human beings were living 10,000 years ago, go to some of these places in the Middle East and you'll see that just like incredibly rural areas in Afghanistan or high tribal deserts or high desert tribal areas, tribal mountain areas, and largely places like Somalia, if you want to see how people were living eons ago, they're still living that way in certain places. I think the one reason why, you know, Afghan people have generally a higher IQ than Somali people is because it once upon a time back in the 1930s into the 50s, Kandahar, Afghanistan was referred to as the Paris of the East. So Afghanistan used to be a tourist destination, if you could believe it. Look it up, Paris of the East. So they had infrastructure, they had, fantastic advancements, mathematics, medicine, all sorts of fantastic stuff came out of, modern day Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, fantastic stuff. So I think that Afghan people would probably have a higher IQ just for the sake of they at least one of the generations that's alive right now remembers a better time. Meanwhile, Somalia, I don't think Somalia has ever been a tourist attraction. So I believe that's true. That the group of human beings that exist on this planet that are the least intelligent, because there are. Yeah, I don't care if you like it or dislike it. There's hierarchies, there's metrics, there's statistics, there's all that. It exists, and so just to not talk about it doesn't make it go away. It just remains a festering boil in the corner over there, and then it gets sepsis, and then you fucking die because you don't address the topic. So I think Ilhan Omar is an absolute witch. She's something awful. And there's plenty of other ones. What's another one? Was it Rashida Tlaib? No. They were sitting next to each other at the State of the Union. Excuse me, Rashida Tlaib, if it wasn't you, I apologize. But Ilhan Omar and this other wench were heckling and screaming in the background. Directly implicated in stealing from American taxpayers. So we gotta get those people out. We gotta weed them out. We gotta get these people in fraudulent activity. We gotta do something about this. We swept it under the rug forever. Potentially since after Kennedy was assassinated, even before. The deep state existed before Kennedy, so yeah, it was before, because they killed him. So, and yes, I do believe that our government, the United States government, killed our sitting president because he was a massive threat to some people's ambitions, futures, ambitions, and abolishing the CIA and coming out against secret societies. Well, now we know the truth. It's kind of like back when Eisenhower warned about the military-industrial complex. Now we know the truth. So, how many years ago was that? It was a long time. So we've had this problem in our country for a long time, and we got to do something about it. And so anyway, so State of the Union thing, Trump appointing J.D. Vance as the leader of the war on fraud. Well, go get him, Tiger. I like that he recognized the men's Olympic hockey team. I think the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team beat Canada. So take that, you liberal commie bastards. I don't like that he only brought in the men's team, though, because I believe the women's hockey team won gold, too. But hey, there's only so much room in an arena, and everybody's watching the men. Nobody's watching the women. Just ask the WNBA. So, what else did I pick up from that? He was lambasting the Supreme Court justices. Wouldn't shake so-and-so's hand. Oh, I saw this one. And this is one where every single person that you blew no matter who, idiots. And I don't see Trump as a red till I'm dead vote. I don't see that. Because you had independents and liberals vote for Donald Trump both times. But you blew no matter who, dummies. When the President of the United States, not the king or the dictator or the whatever, not fucking Hitler or whatever little thing you want to call him, which isn't accurate. It's not true. It's your own personal delusion. He might be doing a bad job, but he's not a goddamn dictator. He's not a king. He's the president. And when the president says the goal and the purpose of the United States government is to ensure the rights and freedoms of American citizens, please stand up. And the Democrats stayed seating. Bro, if you think that's cool, then fuck you. Straight up. You're a part of the problem. If you think that a simple gesture of, the federal government should protect the rights of American citizens, yes, 110%, yes. Should it protect the rights of anybody else? No. Our citizens. Why? Because we're born here. We're citizens. The Mexican government does their best to protect their citizens. They don't afford me any welfare. They don't afford me, as a matter of fact, just to live here legally. I went through all the proper channels. Just to live here legally, I have to prove that I can financially take care of myself indefinitely, which means that I have to be able to have shelter, food. If I break a leg, I got to be able to pay for it. If I need a hip replacement, I got to be able to pay for it. If I need transportation, I got to be able to pay for it. If I have a child down here, I got to be able to pay for it because I'm not a citizen. And it's the exact same thing in other countries. Canada, the same. I saw another damn thing about this freaking dolt. Look, this butch lady in Canada. Oh, I took a couple $1,000 and thought I'd just move to Canada and be fine. No, you fool. You gotta get work permission. You Americans really are delusional folks. Like, you guys really think that the rest of the world just kind of does this shit that we're doing? Just awards, just fraudulent, crazy payments to people that aren't citizens? No one else does that. And no other countries are tens of trillions of dollars in debt with a currency facing collapse, causing ruckus all over the world. No other countries do that. Us doing that doesn't make us a great country. It makes us a bankrupt country, which will make us a very bad country. So in order to maintain as a great country, we have to have rules and lines and law. If you don't have that, the whole damn thing collapses. The whole thing. And you know it because you're sitting in the middle going through it right now. It's not Donald Trump's fault that there's tens of trillions of dollars in debt. That shit started way before him. Oh, he added to it. So did Bush. So did Obama. They all add to it. It's an insurmountable task. You know, what'd you learn in like first grade? If you took dollar bills and stacked $1 billion in dollar bills, it'd reach the moon. You know how fucking much money that is? And you're talking 39 trillion with a T? And you want to somehow tackle that? You're not going to do it by giving a bunch of services away to people that aren't supposed to be in the country. They're just not supposed to be there. On another note, we need to do away with birthright citizenship in our country. And that is one thing that I will say that other countries do not do away with. There are, I think, Germany, if you're born in Germany, you're a German citizen, and you're also an American, if you're an American, and you're an American citizen. If you're born in Mexico to American parents, you were born in Mexico, you're a Mexican, but you also get dual citizenship through America. But the way that places like China, India are using birthright citizenship, that's an icky loophole that needs to be closed. So, in my opinion, we should stop that crap, at least for now. So, yeah, to hell with all those people at the State of the Union that didn't stand up because they don't think that the role of American government is to protect the citizen and their rights and the Constitution. To hell with all those people that stayed seating just for your own sick derangement game. And for all of you numbskulls that just because it's Donald Trump, you agree with them not standing. He made a proper statement, whether you like it or not. The role of the United States government should be to serve the United States of American people. Not somebody trying to claim illegitimate asylum. Shouldn't be that way. And America is worse off because we've been doing it that way in places like New York and California and Illinois and Minnesota, and Washington and Oregon. It's a travesty, man. It's a travesty. You know, I claim to live here in Mexico, and I do. I spend as much time here as I can. I get anxiety when I have to get on a plane and get out of here. But I got to get on a plane and get out of here, man, way too many times out of the year. You know, I still have an address in the States. I got an acre of land that here before too long I'd like to get something going on it in New Mexico. But you know, I'm not here 24/7, 365 down here in Mexico. You know, I can't be. I got doctor's appointments, you know, blood work, you know, business stuff to deal with. You know, my wife has dental offices to check into. But part of the reason why I'm down here is because, you know, the equity markets here in Mexico are doing very well. The economy is getting better. I'd like to see how the peso stacks up after this tourism dump that's going to happen. I'd like to see how the peso stacks up against the dollar. I bet it goes back down because it was pretty high at 17.1 the other day, and it'd be interesting to see if it goes back down to 20. It's an inverted thing, because if the peso is stronger, that means it goes up, but the physical number is down, because you only get 17 to the dollar, versus if it's weak, the physical number goes up. Let's say you're getting 20 pesos to the dollar. Hope that makes sense. I'm just very concerned about my country. I'm very concerned about my country. I'm very concerned about my currency. I'm very concerned about all of it, you know. I think we all should be, to a degree. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. America has pulled out of some bad situations in the past. But we'll see. I'm not just sitting here bagging on my country, but, you know, it's kind of like if your oldest boy robs a store, you need to spank them. Anyway, so for a fun one, I got a cool little thing that I absolutely agree with. I was scrolling through X, and I saw a post of a Army member, a black lady, saying, if you want to have a rich, fulfilling, secure life, join the Army. And I agree. I have experienced many benefits from my service in the military. And I still get to experience those benefits today. I rant and rave about the topic of healthcare. I get completely free healthcare. Completely free. If I need a surgery done, I go to my local VA medical center. I go through the process. I get my surgery. I leave. I don't get a bill. You know, I get a small compensation for disability. I got to go to school. I got to go to college for free. For free. And not everything is free. Nothing's free. You know, it took time and effort, and it hurt my body, and I'm banged up in a bunch of different ways, but that's a hell of a benefit. And I'm still upright, and I'm still walking. And if I do need this damn hip replaced, I just go to the VA and get it replaced. So, I don't remember the lady's name who's put this on X, because it was coming through like one of those X accounts that just kind of reposts stuff, and doesn't necessarily, it wasn't clear. I guess if I look at the original, I just didn't look at the original, so I don't know who the actual post came from. But that was a good one. So, oh, and by the way, you need to know how to read if you want to join the military. But according to Gavin Newsom, black people can't read. So I'm curious as to what this black lady was doing, telling everybody that join the Army if you want to be rich. Thank you guys very much. Again, like and subscribe. It really does, in the future, it's going to mean a lot to me. It's going to mean a lot to me. It literally takes a half a second on your part, just a click or a tap. And again, even if you don't like the content, don't watch it. It'll go to the bottom of your algorithm, and the most you'll see is if I post a new video. But until then, everybody have a great night. I will come back at you on Friday, and I believe that I'm gonna have a different backdrop come Monday. So until Friday, everybody, thank you for watching the Uniquely Unqualified Podcast, and we'll see you in the next couple days.